My name's Cecilia Lim. I'm 26 years old. I was born here in Manhattan and raised in Delaware, and I currently live in Philadelphia. I really wanted to participate because I feel like I've been silenced a lot in my experiences. I just haven't really had an opportunity to talk about what's happened to me in the past, and I feel like it's really important, not just like for myself personally, but so that others can learn from and grow from the mistakes that were made. I'm glad that the Me Too movement has gained a lot of traction. I feel like it's given so many people an opportunity to speak out and to be heard, and especially for me, I feel it's saddening to see how many people have a Me Too moment, but I also feel connected to all these people, and it helps to know that I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who's experienced this, and hopefully with everyone, each person contributing their story, it can make a hopefully real difference so that this doesn't happen again. I was debating for a while what I wanted to say because I've had multiple experiences of harassment and I've been assaulted, but I wanted to talk about this one specific experience that happened to me where I was 12 and 13 years old and I was in the choir. I had joined the chorus in my middle school. The teacher, I really loved the teacher. I really loved his class. I really loved being able to sing. And I thought we were really close. I really looked up to him. But he started doing things that seemed a little bit odd to me. We got really close in a way that a teacher and a student shouldn't be. We would talk online for hours, and he would invite me to his room for lunch, and it started to get more strange and more weird, and I didn't know. I was pretty young. Like I said, I was 12 and 13, and so I just thought maybe he just really likes me. He's a really good mentor. After about a year or so, I don't really know how it happened, but I remember waking up one day and I realized that he was trying to hurt me. It just hit me that this behavior was not right, and I remember telling my mom, and she told me that I have to tell the school because this isn't okay, what he's been doing. We realized that he had basically been grooming me, and it never got to the point where he actually physically hurt me, but it had caused a lot of emotional damage. Yeah, there are other things that he did, but I don't really want to talk about it. In a lot of ways, what happened afterwards was also just as traumatizing because I went to the school and I told the principal what happened, and they were kind of questioning me, maybe he's just being friendly. Are you sure he was really trying to do something? And I remember sitting there just crying because I felt like they didn't believe me, and I didn't know what else to say to make it clear to them that I was really frightened. I was really scared that he was going to come after me. And the principal said at the end, he told me that he did believe me, but they would have to do an investigation to see if they could find anything. So at this point, I was still in his class and I was still having to go to his class. And I had no idea if they had spoken to him about it or not. So I was just terrified, and every time he looked at me, I was afraid something would happen. And I started having nightmares that he was coming to my house. He knew where I lived, and he made it clear to me that he knew where I lived. He looked up my address in front of me once and on Google Maps and said, "Oh, is this your house? Is this your car?" So at some point they told me that they had questioned him, and I told them I can't go to that class anymore, so they did switch me out. But they didn't find any hard evidence, so they couldn't find, for example, that he had Googled my address and he had taken pictures of me and he had deleted all of those. And there wasn't any sort of paper trail on like Facebook Messenger, which is where we spoke, because at the time, the Facebook messages they didn't save. This is when it was pretty early on, and so they just automatically deleted after you exited out, and so there was no proof of our chats. And they decided to interview other students, so other girls in the class. It was an all-girls choir that I was in. Ultimately, no one came forward and said that they had witnessed anything, even though people had seen him, like he would pick me up in the middle of class or like in the hallway, like throw me over his shoulder, like very blatantly like holding me and touching me and like tickling me, like all these things, and no one said that they saw him do that. And I don't blame these girls. I'm sure that they were probably scared, and I don't know if he had been victimizing them as well. But at least like for me, it didn't help my case. From there, it started a rumor chain basically about me wanting to get him fired for no reason. And so that rumor started spreading around the school amongst the students and amongst the parents. Parents were even coming to my mom and asking her questions and asking why I was doing this. It even got to the point where I started getting harassed and bullied online. He was a really beloved teacher, and someone had even made a Facebook fan page for him. People really loved him because he was a very charming person. And I mean, that's what pedophiles are like. And so nobody believed me and just thought that I was out to get him for no reason. I was really afraid that he was gonna continue to do this and hurt someone else. But at that point, there was nothing else that I could really do because the school had investigated and they didn't find anything. My mom and I just hoped that nothing would happen after I left the school. And then about, I think it was 7 years later, I got a notification that he had been arrested for raping another girl at that school a couple years after I had left. I was in college at the time when I got the notification, and it was just really devastating. It was just all my worst fears had come true, knowing that he did hurt someone after me, and even worse. And that same day I got text messages from 3 different people I'd gone to school with. And they all said, "You were right, we should have listened to you." These are people that were my classmates, and I had told them what happened, and like I said, it was just really devastating to hear that he had hurt this other girl and that people realized that I wasn't lying. And I didn't know if these people just thought had been making it up this whole time, or they just thought I was exaggerating, but I was just really so saddened to know that the school had been warned and they still didn't take the proper precautions to prevent this, because it could have been prevented. Even though I didn't give them hard evidence per se, there's so much they could have done to prevent him from being alone with other girls. I also don't have hard evidence of this, but I knew that he had also targeted other Asian girls at my school, and my school was predominantly white. And I had found out that he had followed a classmate of mine around at a school dance. He just followed her wherever she went, and she's also Asian. And when I heard that, I just knew deep down that he had targeted me for a reason, and it was probably because I'm Asian and that he thought I wouldn't say anything. And so the fact that I did say something and people still didn't listen to me, and then to have this other person victimized and hurt, it was just really hard to accept that. And he was arrested, and so I'm glad that he was caught, but it feels like it was too late. Yeah, and the time after it happened, I just completely internalized it, and I just assumed that there was something wrong with me, and I didn't want to show anyone because I just thought that it was something that I had to overcome, that there was something wrong with me for feeling ashamed or for hating myself. And so I also struggled with it a lot because he didn't physically harm me, and so I thought that I didn't have a reason to cry or to be upset, and I shouldn't be this upset because it could have been worse. And so I think that was also why I didn't want to talk about it, because I was afraid that people would shame me, especially because I had tried to talk about it a couple times with people and they would just give me weird looks or say, like, they wouldn't say anything, they wouldn't believe me, or they just would think it was a weird story. And so because of those reactions too, I think that further amplified this idea that nothing bad had actually happened. In the years leading after what had happened, I was definitely experiencing PTSD symptoms, but I didn't know that's what it was. And when I reached college, it just started to get worse. And I think there was a specific moment where I was in a women and gender studies class learning about human trafficking, and I just sort of broke down. And I talked to the professor afterwards, and I told them that I had been feeling a little bit of why I had been feeling that way, and they encouraged me to see a therapist. I feel very grateful for that moment, because having that outside affirmation that, oh, like, you deserve help and you deserve to be supported, that sort of made me realize that it's okay to ask for help. So I went to therapy starting after my first year of college, and I think it's probably one of the things I'm most proudest of doing in my life, having gone through it, because it was really scary going and having to relive a lot of the things that I had been trying to push down and not think about for so many years. So I'm very grateful and glad that I did